from the first chapter of Genesis. Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years. 15 years ago today, Lisa and I woke up early in the morning. We were in Mystic, Connecticut, and we were there to be married. We lived in Rochester, New York, but two women could not get a marriage license in New York at the time, so we drove to the next state over. Two of our dear friends were the only wedding guests. One, a UCC minister, David Gregory, and his partner, Trip Hansen, who was a Broadway performer. After breakfast that day, we went to the city clerk's office in Mystic. I had a file folder full of every document I thought might be required. I was so afraid that something would go wrong. I had my birth certificate, social security card, divorce decree. I honestly could not believe that we would be able to get a marriage license. We got in line behind a man who was applying for a fishing license. The clerk's name was Sally, and all she asked us for was a photo ID. 5 minutes later, we had our marriage license. The four of us drove around Mystic, and we found a beautiful spot by a lighthouse. We made plans to come back that evening for the ceremony. Our wedding was all that I hoped it would be and more. It was intimate and meaningful. I cried a lot. Who was surprised at that? We drew some attention from a few tourists when we kissed, and Trip, our friend, burst out into, "At last!" All of a sudden, we were married. We were wife and wife at last. And to say those words, even all these years later, hits me right here. In fact, I knew I was going to cry, so look at this Kleenex. I really never believed it would be possible in my lifetime for me to marry the woman that I love. And last fall, when the Supreme Court announced that it would not, at least at this time, reconsider marriage equality, there were a lot of queer folks who breathed a giant sigh of relief, me among them. Lisa and I married on the summer solstice at sunset on the longest day of the year, a day that we had always held as sacred. What a perfect day for an anniversary. And every year since, our anniversary returns carrying both the memory of that beginning and the living reality of what those promises have become ever since. You know, marriage, like the solstice, holds a sort of paradox. It takes place on a single day, in vows spoken aloud in a matter of minutes, and yet marriage also unfolds across a lifetime together. The day is both complete in itself, and it is the opening of something that continues. You stand at the altar, or in our case, a lighthouse, and you really have no idea what you're getting into. Really, you stand there with all of your love and all your hope, and a very incomplete picture of who either of you will become, or who you will become together as a couple. June 21st is the summer solstice. Sol meaning sun, sistera meaning to stand still. The solstice is an astronomical curiosity. I can imagine it goes unnoticed by many, but it's more than a day to note on the calendar between Flag Day and 4th of July. There is a moment on this day, June 21st, and on every June 21st, that happens whether or not we're paying attention. Somewhere around 1 o'clock today, The Colorado sun will reach the apex of its arc across the sky. The sun will be as high as it ever gets. The shadow you cast at that moment will be the shortest shadow you cast all year. And then, by very small margins, the sun will begin the slow return. The days will imperceptibly begin to shorten. The ancient world knew this intuitively. Long before there were calendars with little boxes, human beings tracked the sun. All animals do. Humans built Stonehenge to frame the solstice sunrise. Our ancient ancestors oriented their temples, their burial mounds, their sacred fires to this axis of the year. Now, what does it mean that the light is at its fullest today, now? That's a question about abundance and limit, about how the most luminous moments are also the ones from which we begin to turn, about what we do with the light that we are given, and then what will come next. Today our scripture is the solstice. We read the Genesis verse, yes, but I'm really preaching on a text that creation itself has written. We who are made of stardust and river water and billions of years of evolution, evolving life. We're learning to become conscious of all of creation. We are learning to read not only books, but creation itself. The longest day is a sort of a turning point. There's this moment of maximum light, and then the moment when the darkness begins its slow return. There is no peak without the descent that follows. There is no fullness without the approach of emptiness. The very day that holds the most light is also the day from which light begins to recede. Now be honest, does that feel depressing or hopeful? Maybe both? No matter how it feels, it is true. In order for there to be a peak, descent must follow. The seasons turn, and for an instant we hold both things to be true. The Tao Te Ching names this paradox of turning. Yield and overcome, it says. Bend and be straight. Empty and be full. Wear out and be new. Have little and gain. Have much and be confused. The solstice teaches us that the turn is not the end. The turn leads to the next chapter. So here we are, all of us, all on the home watching on the live stream. Here we are on the longest day in the fullness of midsummer. What opportunities lay before each one of us on this day? Well, many, no doubt, but I'll suggest two. First, we can choose to be present, to pay attention to this moment, to reality as it is. The solstice, the summer solstice, only happens once a year. Right now, the light is doing something it will not do again until next June. And next June will be its own configuration of joy and grief and wonder that we cannot yet imagine. Today, we can be here now. We've been sunbathing for a long time, recognizing the healing benefits of sun, though now we have learned to use sunscreen. Can we find a way today to notice the sun, to show appreciation for its beauty, for the consistency and dependability of its path? Second, we can look for the gift of turning. The days will begin to shorten, and that's okay. In fact, that's good. We were not made for endless light. We were made for rhythm, for the exhale that follows the inhale, for the rest that makes the work matter, for the dark that teaches us what we could not learn in the blaze of the noonday sun. So the turning is not loss. It's a pattern that is woven into creation from the very beginning. We can recognize our place in it. We can learn to trust the turning. 15 years ago, Lisa and I had made promises by a lighthouse, promises that neither of us fully understood yet. We didn't really know what we were promising. Nobody does. You can't know on the day of greatest light what the turning will be like or what it will ask of you. Year after year, solstice after solstice, the sun comes back. It just does. Every single year, after the longest day, the light recedes, and every single year it returns. That is the nature of our reality. That is the shape of things. It's the shape of a marriage, the shape of a faith. It's the shape of a church. Nobody gets to live perpetually at the peak. There are seasons when the light is long and seasons when it is short. Both are necessary. The question is never, will the turning come? It will come. Today, friends, church family, let's stand in the light, all of it. Let it be enough. And when we begin to sense the shortening of days, embrace that too. Nothing stays at its peak, and nothing needs to. And whatever in you is at its own high noon right now, whatever's full and bright, embrace it, trust the turning, even if you're a little bit terrified of what comes next. Trust that the going down of the light is not the end of the story, it's just the next chapter of it. Happy anniversary, Lisa. Happy solstice, everyone. May the light in all its forms find its way back to us again and again and again. May the darkness, when it comes, lend us rest and renewal. May we trust the turning. Amen.